Hello.
Hey, right on time there. How's your day going?
It's going well. How are you, Darren?
Excellent. Thank you very much. And getting the housekeeping out of the way, Atwater
Yes.
Punx is the first
Yes,
time that you and your wife have professionally, that's a hard word to say, professionally collaborated.
that's right.
How long did it take from, hey, we should record something to actually having it out?
10 years. No, I mean, we always kind of like talked about doing something together. We've been together for 10 years. Um, Maybe like 2 years ago, we started kicking some ideas around,
Sure.
and then once we went on lockdown, it seemed like uh, an appropriate time.
Sure.
By
And
the
you're
way, I apologize if my wife and kid are in the backyard right now. So
Why apologize? I
if
mean,
there's
you've
any,
always been kind of what you see is what you get kind of artist. So I don't think that's all planned for you to have a nice trampoline in the background.
we're basically turning our backyard into Disneyland. So we've got a trampoline, we've got a pool that you can't see currently. We've got a sandbox, we've got a climbing apparatus. It's you know. By the way, super fortunate to have the space, and the fact that I have my studio out here and they're in the house out there. It's like we're very lucky.
Of course, of course. And are you actually based in Atwater, or is that just like a clever name?
Yeah, no, we live in Atwater Village in LA. Yeah. Yeah, we
Right.
love
It,
it.
it was kind of one of those towns that people used to joke about, oh, we're in Atwater. And it kind of became cool. Have you always been there? Because I remember hearing that you used to have a really cool penthouse kind of apartment or that in the middle of LA.
So I had, yes, when I first moved to LA, I moved to West Hollywood, as you do, right?
Right.
Because, that was LA to me, coming from Boston. I had been in Boston for 15 years prior to moving out here.
Right.
So yeah, like, my entire world in LA would just revolved around like the Sunset Strip and Melrose, you know what I mean? Like that was it. So I never even came to the East Side till like years later. I remember living in when I lived in West Hollywood, coming out to like Spaceland for gigs or something, and I just thought, oh my God, it's so far away. And so my wife and I ended up moving to Silver Lake,
Right.
like 6, 7 years ago now, I guess. Um, and then we just made the transition down to Atwater here. I mean, it's ostensibly the same neighborhood. Just down here we're in the flats. We get a little more bang for your buck, and we have like sidewalks. My kid can like go skateboarding and scooter cruising on. So it really works out great for us.
Well, I'll be
And
sure
it's
to. Oh,
and it's a super creative community too. Like, basically people that live in Atwater Village are like, there's people that have been here their entire lives, and like, their families live, on the street over here. My neighbor has lived in his house for 40 years. He grew up in the house on the street behind us. And so it's people that have lived here forever, or young families like us that are creative. Like our other neighbors are TV people. The guy we bought this house from was a TV person. A lot of musicians live in the neighborhood, a lot of producers. So it's a really great community.
I'm going to be tagging the Atwater Village people in the social media of this because if they need an ambassador, clearly it's you.
We
So,
love it. We're all in.
so back to you here.
Okay.
Of course, I've been following you for decades, and you've got this career where you go, is Stacy a drummer slash session guy, a sideman? I don't know. Is he an A&R guy? Is he a songwriter? Is he a producer? Now you have Atwater Punx on that, on top of American Hi-Fi, on
Yeah.
top of Matchbox 20, on top of your Berkeley roots.
Yes.
It's more convoluted than Butch Walker, I would say at this point.
I think it is.
Who are you? But
I,
how do you like to be thought of in general?
It's funny. I mean, I wear a lot of hats, and I think it's something that I learned early on in music is that, you have to constantly reinvent, right? You
Mhm.
got to stay up on what's current. And sometimes that means reinventing what you do. So, I'm a drummer by trade. So if you ask me what I do, as a musician, I'm a drummer. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a decent guitar player when it comes to like power chords and punk rock chunking, you know. Not a great singer. I realize that. I'm a stylist, uh, for sure. But you know, I got a thing. I've got my thing, and I like that. So yeah, I'm a drummer primarily, but yeah, I've had to learn how to produce and how to be a musical director, and I did some A&R for Sony for a little while. Now I founded a company called Hi-Fi Labs that we're working with. We're working doing artist development,
Mm-hmm.
but also working to be a creative think tank for just people in the music industry. If you have an idea, you could come to us. We're one-stop shop. We can put it together for you using, you know, our network. And so here we are. You know, that's what I find myself doing now more than anything, is reinventing myself again, because you know, the musical director gig that I've been doing for the last 15 years, that's been my primary sort of day job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that involves live music, right? So it's either performances or television, award shows, you know, things like that. So that business is clearly, you know, on hold.
On hold, yeah, sure.
Indefinitely. So one of the things I'm doing now with Hi-Fi Labs is we're really working on the live stream technology and just beefing up what you can do virtually, and thinking about different ways to package the live stream and different ways to get a live performance to an audience via the computer, you know, because that's what we're stuck with right now for live music.
Right. Bringing it back to what you're talking about with your guitar playing, I remember reading on the first American Hi-Fi album that you used to do a drop D on the low string and then just bar your fingers across the top three strings. Did you eventually learn how to really play? Did you have to reteach yourself?
Yeah, I would say I'm probably a better guitar player than I thought I ever would be. You know, and I practiced a lot, especially in the early Hi-Fi days when we were making that album. You know, we went, you know, we went to Hawaii to make that record with Bob Rock, which was
Right.
incredible. And you know, and this was 1998, 99, I guess, when we made that record. So budgets were bigger.
Right.
Things were different. You know, we spent, now granted, we had to take a break in the middle of recording that album because Bob had to go do the Metallica symphony thing.
Right.
And I'll never forget, he called me, you know, we were literally in the middle of recording that album, and Bob called me up at the house, like kind of early one morning, and I was like, oh shit, this can't be good. You know what I mean? And he's like, hey, I need you to come down, you know, I need to chat with you. So I went down to the studio and said, listen, I've got to go do this Metallica thing. And it means we're going to have to pause the recording process for Hi-Fi. But you guys stay here. I'm going to give you the keys to the studio. I'm going to keep my engineer here with you guys. And I want you to just keep writing, come to the studio, practice, work on the songs we've already been working on. You know, he dropped his fee so that we could stay, and, you know, like made it really, you know, financially viable for us to stay. So I spent that time in between, like really shedding on guitar, writing other songs. I wrote Flavor of the Week during that break, actually.
Right.
So had we not taken that break, you know, that album would have come out without Flavor of the Week on it, which, you know, who knows what sort of path that would have sent us down, whether that's good or bad. You know, some people have debated that.
Sure, the hit can always be misrepresentative of the rest of the stuff there. And I actually interviewed Bob last year, and when I was asking about people that are a pleasure to work with, he mentioned you.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
a recurring thing I hear about Stacy Jones in interviews is, oh man, that guy's a great hang. I like working with that guy. So you kind of, it seemed, learned early on that it wasn't just about being a good player, even though you went to Berkeley and you had that training, but it was a good hang thing was going to keep getting you gigs. Do you remember a point in your career where you realized that specifically, that lesson?
No, I don't know necessarily that that was ever like a mindset for me. I think that like I'm really psyched to hear that, you know, because I do try to, you know, I try to be a good person in life, in business, family, everything. And I think it's important. I think it's really important. Um, yeah, I guess maybe once I started getting more into the sideman thing or the gun for hire thing, you do start to realize that that the hang is important, right? Because there are a million drummers out there that can play circles around me. You know, I know that. But I think what's important is having your own identity, having sort of your own thing that you do. You know, I'm not a flashy drummer. I can't play a lot of the crazy licks and stuff, but I have a good feel, I have good time. So I sort of lean into that, right? I was like, okay, this sort of separates me a little bit from some of the other people. So I'm going to lean into that and just go with that. And then, yeah, being a good hang is important because once you start getting on the road, you know, you're on packed in airplanes together, you're packed
Right.
in vans together, you're sitting backstage together for hours on end. And it's important that you're able to get along. So yes, to your point, I think, yes, but being a good hang is important. And I'm flattered that's my rep.
That Bob Rock approved.
I love that. I love that. I mean, Bob has meant so much to me on so many levels. I mean, even before I knew him, you know, as a producer, I admired him,
Right.
admired his work, and then getting to work with him and the relationship, you know, that I have with him. I talked to him a couple weeks ago on the phone. It's great. He's been a mentor for sure, like hands down. You know, while we were making that record, and I made a record before Hi-Fi with Nina from Veruca
Yes.
Salt.
Yeah, great
So
album.
I was just fly on the wall, you know, so I spent 13 months in Maui making those two records. And, you know, I took a lot of notes. Let's just put it that way.
Right. And as we mentioned, you've also found success as a producer and a songwriter and all that for the other artists. But when you wrote Flavor of the Week, the rumor is that Bob said, we're not going to finish this record unless you put that on the album because you had written that for a potential pop artist or somebody else to cover. Were you in the early days of American Hi-Fi looking to diversify and do other stuff besides being the band?
No, not at all. You're right. I wrote Flavor of the Week just sort of on a whim. And I wrote it from the girl's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So the chorus originally was, my boyfriend, he don't know anything about me. And so I just happened to be playing that on guitar, on an acoustic on the couch, while Jamie, I remember so vividly, like Jamie was recording a part. They were messing around with the sound. So we took a break. So I just said, hey, Bob, listen to this. And I started playing it. And he was like, it was like that records, you know, scratch moment. Like,
right.
Wait a minute, hold the phone, play that again. And I played it again. And he's like, that's a hit. He's like, write that from the other perspective, flip the perspective, you know? So then I said, her boyfriend, you know, no. And he was like, go home right now, go back to the house. So we rented a house. Jamie and I had a house that we lived in together, and Drew and Brian lived across this cul-de-sac from us.
Right.
It was incredible. You know, we just went surfing every morning and went to the studio in the afternoon or played golf. It was incredible. So Bob said, go down to the house, finish these lyrics. You know, this is and we're going to record it tonight. So we actually stopped what we were doing, reset the room because we weren't set up to record the band. And Bob was like, we're doing this tonight. It's like, okay. So I went back. The rest of the guys and the engineers stayed at the studio, set up so that we could play live. And I hammered out the lyrics. I didn't finish them, but I got them to, you know, a pretty decent spot. Came back up. We started hammering through it, and we cut basic tracks for Flavor of the Week that night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, being super mindful of your time here, a couple quick questions, and then you're free man and over to the trampoline. Okay.
Yeah.
So the lineup of Hi-Fi has been really consistent over the years, unlike a lot of your peers. Is that because of mutual love of Rough Cut?
Yeah. Yes. I love that you just referenced Rough Cut. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, Hi-Fi was started because we were friends. You know what I mean? Like, we never thought that it was going to be a band. I never thought we'd have a song on the radio. It just, it was one of those things that really evolved as I was bored. I came back to Boston from a Veruca Salt tour. I had been practicing some guitar while I was playing with Veruca Salt. And I just said, hey, let's go to the letter. We went to the Letters to Cleo rehearsal space down in the South End. I called up Kay and Mike and said, hey, can we go use the space? And they said, sure, because I still had a key for it. So we went down and just played Cheap Trick tunes and like drank beer, and it turned into a thing that we never saw it coming. So Hi-Fi has been the same guys. We've had Jason Sutter subbed on drums for a little while when Brian had his first kid, and then I think we've had a couple subs here and there when people have had babies, basically. Right. Otherwise, it's been the four guys, and we just released a cover of "Steppin' Out" by Joe Jackson.
Great
that
stuff.
Is going to be part of this covers EP that's coming out later. And so it's the same dudes, and it's nice to have that in my life. It's really nice to be able to get together with guys that are they're like family to me. We've known each other for 20 plus years now, and to still be able to make music and put something out and just do it on our own terms. It's I know it's a luxury.
Is there more music coming from Atwater Punx soon?
You know what? I don't know. Probably not anytime real soon. But I think my wife and I have been talking about doing a cover maybe. And we've been kicking around some bands, but I think we're sort of landing on maybe doing a Replacements tune,
Ooh.
which I think would be cool. So yeah, we might do something like that in the near future.
There's a rumor that I heard that you tried out for the band The Candy Butchers. Is that true?
You know what? I don't know that I tried out for the Candy Butchers, but I have jammed with Mike Viola back in Boston a couple of times. Yeah. And I love that band, and I love Mike. He's incredible. Everything he does, I think is brilliant. But yeah, I did. Maybe it was an audition and I didn't know it. I didn't get the gig. I'll tell you that much.
Things worked out just fine for you and all that. So, in closing, Stacy, any last words for the kids?
Oh man, boy. I mean, this is a tough time to try to have a statement to the kids. I think with everything that's going on in the world, we're dealing with a pandemic, and everyone is just trying to figure out like how are we moving forward, and with everything with all the racial injustice that's going on in the world, it's a heavy time.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good time to be creative. I think the world needs that, and I think that there can be a lot of change through creativity and people's art. And man, it's tough. I wasn't prepared for that question.
We can edit around that one if needed.
No, it's fine. I just mean it's so heavy. Like I don't think I could articulate everything I want to say in a closing statement, because there's just so much going on. I mean, wow. Yeah. Wow. That one, you got me on that one. Usually I have an answer for everything.
Well, hey, if it wasn't evident, thank you for your time. Longtime fan. I was at where you guys opened for Super Drag at the Bowery Ballroom.
Oh, man.
You guys gave me a wonderful interview 20 years ago on Long Island where we talked about Rough Cut a lot. So, yeah. So thank you so much for your time, and really looking forward to more music, whatever banner it comes out through.
Oh, thanks, Darren.